If you try to keep every door open, you end up living in the hallway. Please don't mind if I wiggle around like that. I have my daughter right here. Decisions. Oh, what a beautiful topic. How to make them. How do we actually make decisions? How did our parents and our environment shaped how we make decisions? In human design, we have a very particular way for you to find what's best for you, because not everyone should make decisions the same way. So this is the first video of my Human Design Authority series, in which I will cover every authority so you can learn, and then please try it out. But first, learn how to make the best decisions for your life. Before we go into the reason why you have this particular authority that you have, I want to talk about how the authorities in our human design work in the first place. So you can imagine your inner system like a board meeting. You have all the different seats, and for example, you have a seat for the emotions, for the emotional solar plexus. You have a seat for the mental awareness, for all the thoughts. You have a seat for the body awareness, or the splenic center, for all the physical body health information in your system. All the defined centers are like one particular person that sits on such a chair. For example, if you have a defined Ajna center, you will have always that same person sitting on that chair for mental awareness. But if you have an undefined or open center, it's an open seat. So it's basically like a chair on which on every day there is another person sitting. Sometimes it's the people around you, their energy. Sometimes it's the transits. Sometimes it's something you just picked up in childhood or like in your environment. So this is something that is more fluid. It's very important to have some, like there is in human design, there is no better or worse in general, but it can be exciting and very beneficial to have some chairs empty, to have new ideas coming into the system, new energies. But if we want to make decisions that are in alignment with our core self, we should not rely on that chair that is always filled with a different energy, different people. And that's the reason why we always use defined centers as authorities. If you have your human design chart, if not, you can create one for free. I have a link in the description. This is a hierarchical system. So if you have the emotional solar plexus defined, you will have an emotional authority. If your emotional solar plexus is undefined or open, so not colored in, and your sacral center is defined, so colored in, then you have a sacral authority. And it continues like that. The hierarchy is emotional solar plexus. Again, if you don't have that and you have the sacral center, you have a sacral authority. Again, if you don't have a defined emotional solar plexus center and an undefined sacral center, but a defined splenic center, you will have the splenic authority. And then we have the willpower, the ego center. Then next in the hierarchy, there is the self, the G center. And then we have something that is the sounding board authority, or some kind of mental authority. We'll go into depth about that in the particular video. And then we have the reflectors that don't have any centers defined, and they will have the lunar authority. Why are we not having authority or like authority centers in the root and in the head? Because they are pressure centers, and for everybody who has a defined root or head, you know, the pressure is real, the mental pressure is real, the root pressure, the physical pressure is real. We don't want to make decisions from such a place where it's pressured. Also, the throat center can't be an authority center because this is basically the barrier between the inside and the outside. It's our manifestation center, and it's more like the bridge to the outside. So we won't use the messenger as the one who's creating the message. Check out your chart, check which authority you have, and you will also have it when you create your chart. Somewhere it will say authority, and it will tell you what kind of authority you have. So you can click down below. I linked all the videos where I go into depth about each authority and how you should use them. And last but not least, I will explain to you how the authority actually works. When we go up in the hierarchy, like most people will have a emotional or a sacred authority. This is just the majority of people. And then those people who have, for example, a splenic authority, an ego authority, the sounding board, or the reflectors, those are only 1% who have no centers defined. You will have this theme of the energy, the emotional energy, the sacred energy is so loud. So people with an authority higher up in the hierarchy tend to stay away from people to make good decisions for themselves, because just emotional energy and sacred energy is so loud and it can confuse their unique inner voice. Why is learning about your authority so important? I'm right now creating a program which is called Clouded. Break free from your mind, because this is a disease almost every one of us suffers. We are addicted and slaves to our minds. And most of the time, people try to make good decisions for their life from their minds. And we are heavily conditioned there. And this is like, because I have an open ajna, this is basically my gift to guide people in that area. I'm building the best program. I mean, no medical advice at this point, and I'm not a doctor, but I think this will be the best program to prevent such things like spiraling, depression, intrusive thoughts, like all the things going up, like monkey mind, the things that are happening in our brains that we don't like. As soon as I finish the program, you will find it in the description as well, and I will announce it on my channel. So if you don't want to miss that, you should definitely subscribe. You should subscribe either way. But I thought there is these two sides of this conversation. You have like all the mental shit that is going on the one hand, and on the other hand, we have our authority, what we should do instead. And I think it needs both. It needs the deconditioning in the mind and the training and the learning about our mental patterns, because of course we have mental patterns. Some are ours and are beneficial, and some are passed down from our childhood, which likely are not beneficial. And then we have our authority. This is like the answer to all the mental stuff happening. Because when you listen to your authority and you trust your authority because you know your authority, not because you're believing me, but because you tested it and verified it for your life, when you have your authority, which is always not the mind, except for the sounding board authority, you will, and for the majority of the people, it will be a sacred or emotional authority, you will find such an ease in your life. You can relax in your decisions and they don't need to make sense. Stay tuned. I hope this video was helpful. See you in the next one. Bye.